You ready?
I'm ready.
Get the light for us.
All right. Pop.
Okay, welcome back to an original late night podcast. I
Hey,
hope
everyone.
everybody is feeling good, feeling great. You can go ahead because my throat.
Hope everybody is feeling good, feeling great. And yeah, we ready to get into it. Another authentic, organic episode. Per the title, of course.
What's the
Original.
title?
An
Okay,
original, organic, authentic.
it's original because this is its own episode. Nah, but it could be many different things. But now you're giving away the bag. They supposed to think about that. I haven't even thought about what that really means.
Oh, see, well,
Have
it
you?
just
You have?
no, this is just born authentically out of us doing a podcast tonight, today.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I'm really ready to jump into it. So, how are you?
I mean, if we weren't, we wouldn't be recording right now. I'm good. I'm blessed, thankful. Um, Looking forward to same as you, probably looking forward to doing this right now. Looking forward to eating because sometimes we eat before, but tonight we're gonna eat after.
Hmm.
So I'm looking forward to eating dinner. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm thankful and blessed. I have some energy. We're starting this a little bit earlier tonight. It's still late night, but it's not, you know, so late that we're crawling our way through the episode.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that because I remember a person asking me what did I have to look forward to,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a great question because we never really stop to think about what we have to look forward to sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be refreshing knowing that you have something you're looking forward to
I
just for
agree.
even the day. I mean, day or moment, just like the little things that really, you know, just add to our happiness, our joy, and whatnot.
So what's something you look forward to?
Oh, wow. You just put me on the spot. Something I look forward to. Um, I don't want to make it
Could be
such a
anything.
I know I don't want to be so broad, but I do really just look forward to growing and getting better every day. So, you know,
Growing in what way?
growing, especially emotionally and mentally, how I respond to things and situations. And sometimes it's so easy to sometimes I can have the right words in the moment and say the right words, but I would like more for my internal feelings to match up with the words that I'm saying. And so I just look forward to growing as a person, like overall.
That's good.
And every moment can be used as an opportunity to do that. So I do want to take advantage of those growing points that come throughout the day. That way when I am looking back, I can say like, wow, um, I grew.
True. That's good. I mean,
But if you want to know how I'm doing today or right now,
I'm listening.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm actually in between wanting to yell really loud and wanting to go to sleep.
That's why this podcast is supposed to be late night. I don't want to bring our energy down, but I gotta make sure that we can conduct a sound podcast. Because if y'all don't know, or what y'all may not know, this is an energetic individual over here, which
I
is
said
great,
let's get
which is
into
really great.
it.
But, we probably wouldn't make it through a whole episode if you were on 10-10. So that's why we got to do it at late night.
Wow, I never thought about that. That's good. because I be going all over sometimes.
Nah, I'm not saying we couldn't, but you know, I think it's good that you get to reflect, use your energy throughout the day to do things such as grow. Some people don't. They're not productive with their energy.
I'm
So
trying.
you
Thank you.
you affect me in that way. And then meanwhile I'm sitting here late at night trying to conjure up whatever energy I got left to conduct this. So tonight we said we're gonna do it a little bit earlier. But nonetheless. So yeah, we both feel good, I think. That's good. So y'all should get some good stuff today. So let's start with some sort of topic. Um, let's see. I had a question. I have to now remember what my question was, but I'm just gonna come up with the first thing that comes to mind, and we can go from there.
All right.
So the first thing that comes to mind is, how do you do what you do?
What?
No, I'm just playing. My question is, how do you be great?
How do you be great?
And that's why I said, how do you do what you do? Because what I kind of mean is more so like on a daily basis, like how you just said you like to grow and you don't want to be so broad. But it's like, how does somebody approach, you know, what it is that they do? Because I feel like there's obviously specifics that we could go through with each person who they might do a specific thing. One person might be a chef, another person, might be a teacher or an accountant, like, and they might have their day looks different. But nonetheless, like, how do you approach your day knowing that, like, you want to win the day, knowing that you want to be great, knowing that you want to use that day or be able to look back on that day and say that I did use it, for everything it was worth. Like, I did grow from that day, or I tried my best to grow. So, how do you be great, like, indefinitely? Obviously we know we're not perfect, but like, what does that approach look like?
Mm.
And this is something that maybe like we might have touched on in other podcasts, but at other episodes, but this is kind of just more specific to, you just said, growing daily. So it's more specific to like that daily approach to that mindset.
Well, that is a layered question. Um, how do you be great? I think you said something. You said about winning the day.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying
And
like answer it, but just I don't
yeah,
think it can just be answered. But
I don't think so either, but where my thoughts are starting with or going
mm-hmm.
is, like I said, what you said is important. I think first you have to get up with the mindset of knowing that you do want to win the day.
Yeah,
So if we are talking about the beginning of the day, I mean that's exactly where it starts. If we are talking about day-to-day basis, you have to, or maybe first you have to define what you mean by being great.
yes, I had that thought as well. But I think even more importantly than being great or having the specific definition might even be to choose to win the day. Because I
Yeah.
feel like there is something in that. I think there's something in being able to look back and say, like, oh, I made great decisions today, or I made the right decisions, or the best decisions I could make with what I had, with the choices that I had. And then from there, obviously kind of defining more of who you are, I think, and in defining who you are, you'll be able to more so probably even determine what being great looks like for you, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think that it means like it's an entirely different definition for everybody, but your routine might look different. Your just how you spend your time, your circle or your habits. But I do think there are some basic elements what that looks like for anybody that's trying to be great in anything. Maybe we could speak to what some of those things we might think that they are. Not saying we know that what they all are, but
To what exactly?
an element of greatness like that
Mm.
across the board. Anybody that's walking in greatness has a characteristic that anyone who's walking that will possess
Yeah, I mean,
or might
I think the
possess.
first two things we mentioned are the main thing. I think you got to define what you mean by being great, and you have to, I think, ultimately make the decision of knowing you want to win the day and ask yourself how or what does that look like? Because winning the day for one person could mean having the right responses throughout the day.
That's true.
For another person, it might be finally taking steps to get the things done that they would like to get done, or just simply doing what they said they were going to do. And
But so what's some characteristics though that like somebody walking in greatness would have? Like what's a characteristic?
consistency.
So everybody pretty much who's great is consistent.
Yeah, I think there is a level of consistency, especially because I feel like a lot of times with these people, you should, at some point, people should know what they're getting from you.
Okay.
Not in a way that, not to say you're just, I mean, but it's maybe, yeah, I was gonna say not to say you're just this predictable person, but in many ways, I mean, yeah, because if you show up as who you are consistently, people know what they're getting from you.
But is it all about what people knowing like that consistency that we're talking about, or is it about what they show up to do or who they show up as every day, like regardless of who knows?
It is a regardless of who knows. I guess I bring the people in
I think that's good what
as
you're saying though, but yeah, I just want to
as an
break it
indicator,
down.
even for yourself, to know that whatever goal you have set in mind or whatever you set out to do, the people can be an indicator in helping you track or realize that you are being consistent and you are showing up
Yeah.
the way that you are. And of course, we should have that self awareness to know that maybe you didn't respond how you normally would, or you recognize you have an off day. So it could be any little thing. But um, the people, again, is just, they can be an indicator.
Yeah.
And the way people respond back to you, even, I think, begins to mirror or reflect what you're showing up as.
Yeah. I agree. I do think I think people, if we give them too much of a place with how we show up, could be like a false indication to an extent. Not saying it is, but meaning like, just because, you continue to show up in one way and let's just say whatever you may be doing, like it may not have gotten to the level, or you may not have gotten to the level in that arena that you envision yet. And you're looking at it like, oh, I must not be, you know,
Mm-hmm.
who I am in my mind, or I must not, you know, be supposed to become that person. If that makes sense. I think that can be like a deterrent almost, and a person can lose confidence because those people are not affirming them in that way. Like people aren't practically speaking, they're not saying, "Oh, you're great at that." But like, what if they haven't put in the time to be great at that? You know what I mean?
I think time is a big factor.
So we say, so what? Consistency is one thing, but even longevity, I guess, which I think we have mentioned before.
I mean, I don't know if it has to be longevity per se. because you can choose to make a shift in something and people notice that right away. And I heard what you said, so I don't want to keep dragging people back into it. But I think the thing is that some things you can't really test it without people.
Of course.
So,
But if you test it with people to the extent that you make a shift because the people told you to make a shift, but you haven't been in it long enough, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like I feel like there's somewhat of a balance to it. So you say you don't know about longevity, but I'm saying, I mean, who and what in what arena is great without longevity?
Longevity meaning the I don't know what if there's really like just this specific length of time.
I didn't. I mean, we got to define it then. Longevity ain't a number,
It's
but
not.
but depending on an arena of things, like we typically know, it kind of is a number though. Like I don't know if the definition says a number, but I feel like the number is probably somewhere around 10 years or more.
To do or achieve what specifically? I feel like it depends on what we're talking about.
Okay, let's give it an example. What can you be great in a year?
Hmm.
Or 5 years? 10 years?
I mean, anything if you are truly working at it.
Let us know in the comments what can you be great in a year. This might be a terrible question, but personally, I don't know that anybody can be great at something in a year.
But
Not
how are we
saying like,
measuring greatness?
but I'm not saying that they can't, like, I'm not even saying that we're not already great. So I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself. But if we are talking about like being, like walking in that, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is life. Like, time at some point has to have, I guess, a definitive position, or it has to be a time tested kind of thing. Like when we look at greatness in the area of music or art or, like I said, teaching or education, you know what I mean? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't just walk in on day one necessarily and be a principal
Of course.
unless you studied for years and years before, and got certain degrees and certifications. And then I'm sure you could walk through the door and be a principal. But somewhere along the way, if you come in as a teacher, like you don't have to put the time in.
I mean, if we're talking about doing something on the highest level, then I guess I could understand that logic if that's how we're defining greatness. But if we're talking about day to day, even, which is where we started kind of with these small wins, I mean,
We did, but then we also said, um, what are some characteristics of
great.
people that are great?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just, I'm not saying we moved away from the day to day, but just to kind of, I guess, give it a more practical, like, what are some specific characteristics to people that are great in even different arenas that they all might possess? Not saying it's true for every single person, but
And I think these are things that even those people that it started with the day to day thing and it was cultivated maybe in a smaller environment or an environment that wasn't so attached to people, but
mm,
eventually being if we're talking about a higher magnitude now,
mm,
like that, whatever they were cultivating there and they themselves even knowing that they're great, that's when it translated into being tested. So yeah, we see it, but it had to start with just them on the day to day being consistent or developing certain kinds of habits
mm,
um, until we did see them maybe 5 or 10 years later on the higher level exhibiting these like characteristics.
yeah. But when they started, that that greatness that they may have possessed then is not, to me, the same greatness that shows that they've they have walked in greatness or that they do walk in greatness. Like they can't walk in and say, I do this. I've been doing this on day one.
I don't think so either.
You know what I mean?
It happens in increments, and it increases. You don't come in on day one. You come in with what you have on day one, but you build on it until it becomes 5, 10 years later.
Well, I think we're just mixing up what we're talking about. I think you're more so talking about the day to day or how to become it. I'm just speaking to the characteristics of people that already walk in that in
Yeah.
their specific area. So we're not in disagreement or anything, but but I think we're over pontificating about the longevity part. In my opinion, I think I think we both know anybody we can name. That's why I said like let's name some examples. Who are we naming? We don't know about them. I'm not saying they don't have greatness in them.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if we do know about them, it's probably because they've been around.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And for those same people, for some of them, if they were to receive some sort of let's just say, if the people said, we no longer want this from you, or we don't like you for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it has to be only negative feedback. Those same individuals who are already operating in that greatness, they're not just going to walk away from what they do because somebody said something.
Right.
Whereas somebody on day 10, they might feel the pressure like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with what you are saying too, but I think it's like that balance though that comes into play. Like, I don't think people that are walking in their greatness don't listen to the people, but I think there's a you know what I mean? Like, it can't just be all that. The same way it can't just be all time. Like, just because you spend 1,000 years doing it, don't mean that's your gift.
It don't even mean you're. I mean, like you said. I mean, like we are. I think essentially are saying the same thing. It's not one without the other.
Yeah.
You could spend 10,000 in a cave thinking you're amazing, but if you get out there with the people and somebody says they don't like it and that throws your whole game off, you might have more work to do.
But if you spend 10,000 hours doing it, you're probably not even gonna feel that way.
You probably don't even care.
That's the beauty of.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It works both ways. But to your point, if you got 10,000 people behind you saying he's great, she's awesome, like, or she great, he awesome, like, you probably have some confidence over that.
Yeah.
But so anyway, how to be great. How to do what you do. I feel like there. I don't know. There's definitely different or multiple characteristics to doing that, doing what you do. But to doing and being great and doing great things on a regular basis, I don't know. I feel like it could sound cliche, but I think there's definitely some principles such as, what we say, longevity, and then what do you say, people?
Consistency.
Oh, consistency. You was talking about, you kept going back to people, so people might be a nah, but I mean, people are definitely, I mean, if we can equate that even to your accountability or your circle though, I mean, because if you have people that you can, you know, that can communicate honestly with you, I mean, I think that will help you to be great. That will help you to not waste time, in certain areas, or maybe to be encouraged to spend time in other areas that are going to help you.
Yeah.
Grow in what it is that you do, or even grow as a person. Which is far more important than just what you do. But I feel like first and foremost, it's you as a person, and then you put that into what you do. But I think that does correlate with just the whole people thing. Like, anybody, any old person can tell you something, but obviously, if you're willing to be held accountable, no matter who it's coming from, if somebody that you don't know is telling you words of wisdom and you're willing to receive that, that is valuable. Like, no matter how many hours you put in, still being able to, have that humility and, just walk in that opportunity, I would say, to to learn and to be better, like you said, to
Yeah.
grow. So
So we got, what was it? Consistency. You said longevity.
yeah, longevity, and you said people.
Okay, can you break down longevity again?
I mean,
Because
I feel like longevity is just like it's with. I was speaking of more so people who are already walking in that, because obviously these are people that have been doing what they do for a long time. If we're talking about acting, music, teaching, like I keep using some of the same things, but athletes, you know, there are certain people that you might hear their names and they made it to a certain level, but then there's other people who, and sometimes we mistaken that, or mistake that for greatness. I'm not saying that those individuals again don't possess that, but there's other people who they transcend time almost. You know what
so
I
are
mean?
you more so by longevity just meaning like sticking with it like long
Just how
enough?
long that you've done it. You've
Okay.
sustained, like it's sustained success, I would say,
Okay.
or a sustained position, or you could even switch, like you said earlier, shifting. You could shift from some of these people I'm talking about. If we say Michael Jordan, he played basketball, baseball, came back to basketball. So some people say, oh, well, he was terrible in baseball. Well, he became a pro. He played a whole different sport and then came back to his sport and still was a champion again, you know? So he was able to transcend sports, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but, I might be misusing that word. I don't know. It's late. It's getting later and later. But, but I think I'm just saying, like, there's these people who they could be doing their thing, literally, pun intended. They could be walking in their gift, their purpose, but then they could be doing something completely different and still capture and have that same impact, have that same, effect. Like Muhammad Ali, if I use him as an example, like he was a boxer. It's not a history lesson because I don't want to. There's somebody who knows way more about him, and these people are deserving of like their proper, rundown of what they've done and what they're about. But I just know, I mean, Muhammad Ali, champion. Like, but when he wasn't boxing, he still used his voice. He still captivated people. He still inspired. You know, not only when he was in the ring and with his gloves on, like, but outside of the ring. And there's people that do that, and I feel like you can only even especially do that when you have sustained, because people even know, like, now your actions or the words coming out of your mouth, they line up, like you've lived your life in that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to take it too far away, but yeah. So longevity, I feel like you can even step across different boundaries into another arena, and people are still paying attention because they recognize you. They know your voice. They know your body of work. Like they feel it. It's not just like, oh, that's fame, or oh, that's shiny, or that's shiny as in like your clothes, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with, I feel like, or it doesn't have as much to do with money or what it looks like, or it's more about the work that that person has put in, you know, behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
Okay. I just wanted us to clear that up for the people.
I mean, I wanted to break all of it down, but
I mean, we're given a list,
you
so
know,
I mean, if we are naming some things,
well,
um,
let's break down consistency then, because that's what I wanted to do, but somehow we started talking about the people.
because the people are
No,
important.
I get it. Let's break down consistency. The people gonna get their shine next.
Consistency is just following through, I feel like, and just doing what you said you were going to do.
But what does that look like with somebody on that high level?
For somebody at a high level, I think it's doing what they said they were going to do. I think, I feel like sometimes we take, not that it can't mean that, like if you're practicing, consistency can mean probably doing the same thing over and over again. But I think consistency also is you know what you're supposed to be doing and you continue to do that. And there may be other things connected to like an end goal, for example. And you may have to do a bunch of like different tasks or something to get it done. So I just feel like as long as you show up every day, showing up every day, maybe that's one thing, but also just continuing to do the things that you're supposed to do.
I'll give another sports example
Go.
because I'm just trying to. I mean, keep saying things they gonna do. I'm trying to say like, what? So what's an example like with somebody great? Like, but I mean, people may or may not know who Cal Ripken is, but baseball player. I think he played like 1,000 and I don't want to misquote it, but it's definitely over 1,000 games straight. Which that doesn't mean everything to everybody, but I think there may be around 100 something games a year. So this is professional baseball. So he basically played like I'm gonna say over 8 years, around 8 years straight without ever missing a game. So if he had an ache, a pain, an injury, whatever, you know, he played. So that's consistency, and he has the record for like the most games played straight. And I don't even know if anybody come close to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that to say, I mean, because what you're saying, I get it, it's practical. But just to paint that picture of like we get up and we might have a quote unquote high off of doing what we said we are gonna do. But there's people even on a professional level, you know what I mean, who have all these obligations, who also have the little stuff to take care of, you know what I mean, that they do what they say they're gonna do for that long consistently to the point that that consistency becomes longevity too. You know what I mean? That wasn't my goal to connect the two, but that is what that looks like. I mean, maybe that's even more, you know, of what longevity even is. It you don't have longevity on a professional or a great level, I guess you could say, of just in whatever arena or field you're in without having that consistency first, to your point. But it looks different on that level, I feel like,
Yeah.
you know. But that's not to belittle like where you start and what the walk is, but if that's literally somebody's goal, you just gotta know like I feel like it can be encouraging to know that there are people out there that do things on the highest level consistently. So all the more can we take pride in even the smaller steps to start down that path, knowing that we can, if we're going to be that much more responsible to do things on a certain level, we can start with where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than accomplishable, achievable.
Yeah.
But sorry for the tangent, but yeah,
No tangent.
tangent.
Okay.
But what was the third? So, um, what was the third?
I'm thinking.
I mean, it was people, kind of.
No, it was not
It
people.
was people, but I said it was. I related it to because you kept saying people, so I said people, but your circle or accountability.
Okay, when you put it that way, then yeah, I think accountability definitely has to.
Because I say your circle or accountability because it could be somebody's fans or it could be
Yeah, it could be
the internet.
a
It could
mentor, or
or a mentor, your best friend.
you might join a group or a class or something like that. So,
Oh,
yeah.
you mean on the beginning level, or you just mean either, even somebody on the highest level.
Well, you are talking about the highest level, so let me not forget that. Um, but yeah, I mean, people on the highest level, I'm sure they have people holding them accountable.
Yeah.
And they have a great circle of people, even who adds to their circle and who are still real enough with them, even if they are on the highest level, that is still willing to speak on their observation of them,
Yeah.
in order to continue to help them grow. And they're growing themselves as well. So all the more reason why having the right group of people. I mean, we need that anyway. Just speaks to having the right community.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, speaking to the highest level, but ultimately, I feel like it's only important to look at it like that or like this, to consider these things because, I mean, you got to know, I guess, what it is that's even possible or what it is. Because you said one of the main things is to define it. And sometimes defining it, we could define it by definition, but sometimes I feel like as we're breaking down these words, even such as consistency, longevity, accountability, you know, I think we kind of, if we have a picture of what that looks like and what can come from that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It helps to even break it down to like the more simple steps of like, okay, you know, obviously if there's an amazing performer, they probably rehearse for their performance, on tour or whatever, or before the tour. But to get to the point of rehearsing for a tour, you probably got to learn to dance
Mm-hmm.
or learn to love dance,
Yeah.
and then learn it and get better and better, and then you just go from there. Like you enter a competition or you get a coach, get better in that way. Like not just better on your own, but I just think like there's steps to it. So when I think about it in that way, I guess that's why it is for the purpose of hopefully us being able to like show where even the highest level is achievable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, accountability is big. I think that's important on both levels. If you didn't just say that, obviously, but you know, I think when you start, I mean, you got to be able to hold yourself accountable. Whereas when obviously if you're on the highest level, you're probably making a lot of money and making a lot of other people money. So there's other people that's gonna try to help hold you accountable. Like, I'm not saying I know the ins and outs of every industry, but like even if we talk about education, a principal has assistant principals. They have administrators.
Yeah.
They have like the board of whoever and the board of education, whatever. Like there's different positions around that's gonna hold each position accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like if you come in with all due respect to like a substitute teacher, I mean you're still gonna get held accountable, but they know you're only there for that day, or maybe if you're like a long term sub, they might give you support, but they're not asking of you the same things that a principal needs to do or is responsible for. So ultimately, just using those examples to say like, you know, I think on a different level, there might be a different level of accountability, but the substitute still has to show up and know why he or she is showing up to teach these kids
Mm-hmm.
or to stand in for this teacher that the kids might be more familiar with, but like, or the students, but they still know why they're showing up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if they ever want to become that principal, if that's their goal, but whatever their reason is, like they have to know that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it's not as necessary to do that, regardless of the level, or to have that regardless, but it is more likely that you'll have a more established like those roles around you to help hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And it's so in the beginning stages, especially, my point is just to say like you got to hold yourself accountable. You got to be okay with that. I think until such time as you find somebody that's on a similar path with you, you know,
Absolutely.
as you, and obviously relationship with God.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Good. I think those are some solid characteristics that we can leave them with. There's definitely plenty more, but
how do you do? That was the question, right?
that was not a question.
How do you be great? I did. I thought I said, how do you, what did I say?
How do you do what you do?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you do? But yeah, how do you be great? I don't know. It's an ongoing, I think, conversation, but I like thinking about it, or considering just like I mean, because I don't know. I don't know how everybody else thinks without, obviously us talking about what it is that we want to do or achieve or, go
Yeah.
after.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there are people out there that do wake up with the yearning to do what's in them to do. And like for some people that doesn't mean like I want to go out here and be the heavyweight champion of the world in
Right.
boxing. But,
Mm-hmm.
there are some people that they do want to do things that there's only a small percentage of people that get to do that, or there's only, you know, or what they want to do requires a certain level of discipline or,
Yeah.
so it's like those kind of details, like, sure somebody's talking about it, but I don't know that it's always just common conversation.
Yep. And that's why this is an original late night podcast.
It was good.
So, what do y'all think? What do you think it takes, or how do you be great? Let us know what you think down below in the comments so we can debate about it as we read them.
Basically.
But thank you so much for listening. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. And yeah, got anything else you want to leave them?
Yeah, man. I'm actually a little more tired than I thought when I started, but probably couldn't tell because I'm still running my mouth, but that's what we're here for. So let us know what you think. Hopefully you got something out of that. And we'll be back next week.
All right. Thanks for listening.